South Korea's exports fell nearly 15% on-year in the first 10 days of February. This is according to the Korea Customs Service on Tuesday. Now, is this a concerning figure? We turn to Professor Lee Seo-hyun this morning. Welcome.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Professor, according to the latest data, the country's exports dropped nearly 15% on-year in the first 10 days of this month. Is this a concerning figure, like I mentioned, or not as much?
Actually, accounting for the working days, 2 days fewer than February last year, the daily average exports increased by 12% year-on-year during the first 10 days of February. So the growth rate of export is slightly lower than January figure, which is 18%, but the recovery seems to be sustained.
Now, in the meantime, the semiconductor exports were up more than 40%. This is the first time chip exports rose more than 40% since November back in 2021. Where is this strong demand coming from?
The bounce back of global semiconductor production is largely expected in 2024, and this is mainly because of a rising demand for the high-priced processors designed for the artificial intelligence. Although the chip manufacturing sector is most likely to continue to improve, the speed of the recovery remains in question since the rampant spending by cloud providers can be offset by more cautious demand from consumers and other businesses.
Right. This is a good news considering South Korea is heavily reliant on chip outbound shipments, especially in the new year. What's also notable is that outbound shipments to China dropped over 20% during the same period. Now, considering last month we saw the first on-year increase in 20 months, what's the reason?
I think this is mainly because of weak demand in China as it faces headwinds to growth. Despite policy stimulus, China's economic growth will remain sluggish, reflecting depressed consumer demand, high debt, and the weak property market.
Then, do you think that will rise next month? What's going to look like next month?
I think it's remain sluggish for some time as we cannot really expect a big, bounce back of the China's economy, I think, yeah.
Right. And the Korea Development Institute is set to release its own economic evaluation and also outlook on the South Korean economy in the coming hours. Last month, the think tank said the Korean economy is showing signs of improvement. What do you expect from this month's report?
Actually, according to the latest updates from the OECD and the IMF, Korea's growth in 2024 is expected to be around 2.2 to 2.3%. And the changes from the last forecast were just minor revisions. And this is, of course, an improvement from last year's growth rate of 1.4%. I think I expect the KDI's economic outlook would not deviate that much from these forecasts.
I'm sure you know a lot more than we do for now. Now, in terms of global economy then, the KDI pointed out that growth is gradually slowing because production and consumption remain sluggish due to high interest rates. Is this still a lingering issue?
Yeah, I think persistent underlying inflation could prolong tight monetary policy. Putting it another way, central banks may want to avoid premature easing that would lead to a rebound in inflation. This would be particularly an issue for South Korea, I think. And recently, the governor of Bank of Korea pointed out that the bank's pivot to interest rate cuts could potentially be delayed as inflation could reach the target level gradually, but possibly at a slower pace than expected. With the cumulative effects of past monetary tightening, higher for longer interest rates could feed into economic activity, housing market, and credit markets, weighing on economic growth.
All right, let's wait a few more hours until what KDI has to say in its reports in the coming hours. Thank you so much for joining us today, Professor Lee. You have a great day.
Thank you. Have a good day.